Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before having lunch, I'd like to speak on the issue of unification controversy raised by a leftist, who advocated the principle of North Korean logic. What a controversy! And this is a kind of, South Korean modern history tragedy, that we have to criticize with reasonable unification method and with the logic of constitutional spirit. As we understand, yesterday President Yoon Suk-yeol criticized the improper remarks by a leftist, as unconstitutional. A leftist, called for the South and the North to exist as two separate states. Quite unreasonable, actually. Actually, it is quite unconstitutional, betraying our duty to promote peaceful unification through liberal democratic principles, because our constitution orders this kind of liberal unification logic. A leftist, who served as chief of staff under the previous leftist government, he raised the controversy by saying in a ceremony in Gwangju area district, last week, marking the sixth anniversary of the Pyongyang Declaration of September 19th, 2018, saying that South Korea should focus on peacefully coexisting with the North as two separate states. Calling for amending Article 3 of the South Korean Constitution, which is stipulating that the territory of the Republic of Korea shall consist of the Korean Peninsula and its adjacent island, which is quite realistic and also implying all legal characteristics of international law. It is quite a surprising remarks, in view of the fact that Kim Jong-un, North Korean leader, also remarked the same logic, separating the two Koreas, coexisting together as two nations. Actually, because he's afraid of his, regime being collapsed by internal forces as well as outside forces. He's lacking legitimacy due to economic troubles and also all the isolation from the international arena. Actually, many people who devoted their lives to the unification movement and who worked for the peaceful unification of the Koreas were surprised after hearing this kind of logic by a South Korean former politician, not by a Kim Jong-un, mouth and North Korean leader, by the name of two-nation theory. So President Yoon Suk-yeol said that who will be able to understand why they condemned those who didn't agree with their unification claims as anti-unification and anti-national forces, but then changed their position 180 degrees overnight, all at once, something like that. President Yoon Suk-yeol claimed that these people are calling for abandoning unification and choosing peace, eliminating the Ministry of Unification and deleting provisions on South Korea's territory and unification peaceful unification from the Constitution. Unthinkable, quite unthinkable. Actually, with quite different political systems and ideological orientations, two nations theory is not possible in reality. At the beginning of the year, Kim Jong-un, North Korean leader, declared that the two Koreas should live as two separate and hostile states. Actually, counter to the vision of reunification of the Korean Peninsula. So, actually, we should not give up on unification. Actually, if we give up, the conflict and the confrontation between South and North Korea will become more severe, and the security risks on the Korean Peninsula will also increase. So we will try to build, true peace based on the strong power and principles, not empty word and rhetoric, based on the theory of a balance of power, not just an ideal remarks. So we have to prepare for a unified Korea where the freedom and the human right of all individuals are respected and guaranteed, and where dreams and hopes are given to future generations, including North Koreans who are suffering as of now under Kim Jong-un dictatorship. So President Yoon Suk-yeol on 15th August, Liberation Day address, he announced his administration's unification doctrine, which update the approach initially introduced by former President Kim Il-sung in 1994, and which is founded on the principles of independence, peace, and democracy to reach complete unification. So Yoon Suk-yeol's new doctrine may indirectly seek the collapse of the North Korean regime and also absorption by South Korea, which history develops according to the logic of strength. So this kind of controversy raised in South Korean society by a leftist, is quite unreasonable and unconstitutional. We cannot accept this kind of logic. Also, a leftist, triggered a additional controversy by suggesting, again, the removal of the Article 3 from the South Korea's constitution. He also calling for the abolition of the National Security Act and the Ministry of Unification, which is quite pro-North Korean approaches, very unrealistic. This is not helping South Korea's national security interest. This is the problem, I think. So I think all of us, should think the unification logic one more time, especially advocating the South Korea's constitutional spirit. Even though we have the evolving inter-Korean relations and the changing public perceptions, constitutional logic cannot be changed. So his statement, can be, Mr. Im, a leftist, can be interpreted as prioritizing peace of unification. However, it is quite disappointing to see him dismiss unification, a long cherished national aspiration of the people. He's aligning with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's stance. This is a big problem. So I think all the Koreans this time should think about unification logic based on a South Korean constitutional spirit. Of course, time changes, and many scholars and experts argue for adopting a new unification policies accommodating evolving social and political circumstances. However, it should be done under the constitutional spirit. Peace and unification are values, that should be pursued, simultaneously. Of course, national unification cannot be achieved overnight. However, this should not serve as an excuse to abandon effort, or indefinitely postpone the goal. So, in this context, Mr. Im's suggestion of delaying discussions on unification for 30 years seems misplaced, and it also demonstrates a lack of commitment. Especially the current generation should commit to making every possible effort to advance unification rather than deferring this significant and challenging issue to future generation. Ladies and gentlemen, how South Korean society is divided like this, between liberal conservatives and leftist, pro-North Korean leftist. This is a big problem in our society, I think. So we have to be careful in understanding these kind of sensitive issues. So we have to educate our young generation what is truth and what is options on the constitutional spirit. It is true also that a growing number of people, particularly among the younger generation, have become more skeptical about national unification, but that does not mean that we have to abandon our constitutional spirit. So actually we have to educate more, solidifying the foundation of a peaceful coexistence, giving more freedom and democratic principles to North Korean citizens who are suffering under dictatorship there. So, again, let me conclude by saying that a leftist, Mr. Im's remarks this time is damaging our national security interest and helping North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's stances on this unification issue. And it is against the universal values of international society. Yeah? We understand that the human security concept adopted by international arena since 20 years ago is emphasizing on the responsibility to protect, especially those who are suffering under dictatorship, suffering under starvation, diseases, lack of water, and lack of human rights situation. So it is our holy duty for South Korean people, to liberate North Koreans under stuck, dictatorial regime there, without human rights and without basic living dignities there. Some are starving there still. So we have to talk about liberal unification logic on the South Korean constitution as two Germans achieved the unification through the logic of a peaceful, liberal unification formula. This is right time. We have to learn from the lessons of German unification, and we have to talk about more realistically, criticizing this kind of a leftist, unreasonable remarks, damaging our constitutional spirit, and helping North Korean regime, and again preparing for a unified Korean era under democratic principles. Thank you. I will see you later. Thank you.